Testing. Okay, good. I don't hear myself in the live. Testing. Oh, never mind.
It's okay. If anybody can see us, we're just getting set up. We will be with you momentarily.
You guys are seeing how the cake is baked.
Okay. Okay, I think that should be it. Perfect. Okay, I think we're good. We'll give everybody a minute to join the show, and then we're getting started. Hope everybody's ready for some fun.
I'm always ready for fun.
Welcome, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to the very special live stream of Our Dead Dads. Hang on a second. One moment. Okay, of course, technical difficulties. This would not be a live stream of this show without technical difficulties. Once again, welcome everyone to a very special live stream episode of Our Dead Dads podcast. For those of you who do not know me, should be very few of you at this point, my name is Nick Gaylord. I am the host, and tonight I have a very special guest, Scarlett Lewis, the founder of the Jesse Lewis Choose Love movement. Scarlett lost her 6-year-old son, Jesse, in the Sandy Hook tragedy in December of 2012. But what followed is one of the most soul shaking and hope filled stories you're ever going to hear. The message that Jesse left behind is nurturing, healing, and love. We're going to talk about how Jesse had the courage to save 9 of his classmates. And also, since then, we're going to talk about a movement that has started, which has transformed schools around the world. This movement has become part of more than 16,000 school districts in this country and part of schools in more than 135 countries around the world. It is my honor, my privilege, and my extreme pleasure to welcome the founder of the Jesse Lewis Choose Love movement to the show, Scarlett Lewis. Welcome, Scarlett.
Thank you so much, Nick.
So good to see you again.
Great to see you too.
It has been a minute. It's been a full 48 hours since your episode dropped. It's been a little bit longer than that since we recorded, and we're here. I'm so glad that this finally happened. This has been quite a week.
Yeah, amazing. So happy to be here. Thank you.
Absolutely. Such a pleasure to have you. And thank you once again so much for doing the interview. This has been very well received so far this week, and I'm thrilled about that. And hopefully, we can get to even more people tonight. So tonight we're, as you and I discussed, the listeners may not know this, but we're going to talk about Jesse. We're going to pay tribute to Jesse. We're not really going to cover a lot of the details of what happened that day because I'm going to put this out there for everybody. Obviously, everybody knows what happened that day at Sandy Hook. If you'd like to know a lot more of the specific details regarding the Lewis family and Jesse specifically, then please go to Our Dead Dads podcast. Look for episode 50. It just released 2 days ago. Scarlett was my guest then. The full interview is available on podcast platforms everywhere. So go check it out, but not now because right now you have to listen to the live stream. But after that, go to Our Dead Dads podcast and listen to Scarlett's interview. There she will talk about, she's going to talk a lot about Jesse. She's going to talk about that day. But again, that's not the focus tonight. The focus is paying tribute to Jesse and talking about Choose Love, which is an incredibly powerful movement that, like I said, has taken over the world. I think it's about 16,500-ish districts in this country have
Schools.
the...
Yeah. Well, it's every state in the country and
All 50 states.
135 countries.
That is incredible.
It is incredible.
The amount of work that it takes to get something known in a few places is one thing, but your movement and your work and the work of your entire team has affected more than half the world. I think there's a little over 200 countries in the world, and you've touched 135. That's close to 70% of the countries on this planet. That's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. And to think that it happened mostly by word of mouth.
Yeah.
And referral of our no cost program that is now in so many schools is pretty amazing. It was just me really just having so much belief in a solution and then packing my bags and traveling and showing up and speaking to anybody that would listen, conferences, state conferences, national, international, and people hearing the message, believing in it, and then wanting to help spread it. It's really, really amazing. It's gone way beyond where I ever thought it would, but it needs to go further because we're the change that we're looking for. We have to take responsibility for what's going on in our world, and we have to be part of the solution. I mean, it's who cares more than we do.
Right. Well, everybody should care. As I said in my post this morning, if you care about your child's education, if you care about your child's safety, and quite honestly, for those of us who do not have children, my wife and I were not lucky enough to be able to have human children. We have our cat, but she doesn't go to public school. So there's a lot of people.
Adorable, though.
What's that?
She's adorable, and I grew up with
Thank
calico
you.
cats. I love them.
Isn't she beautiful? She's
gorgeous.
She's such a little beast, and
Gorgeous.
she's
19.
19 yesterday. I can't believe it.
Yesterday.
Yeah,
Wow.
we're so lucky that we've had it, and we've had her entire life. We got her when she was 6 weeks old.
Wow. I saw those
And-
pictures on your Facebook. So sweet.
She's such a good girl, and she's sitting right here sleeping next to me. So at some point she may jump up on the desk, but as she does occasionally on the live broadcast.
We all
But
want to see her.
Right. Well, hopefully we'll get to see her a little bit later. But it's mind-boggling how much this movement has spread just by word of mouth and the referrals. But as you said, it needs to spread more because as we were starting to say, for anybody who, whether you have children or not, if you care, if you prioritize the safety, the education of this country, this world's children should be one of our biggest priorities. I mean, maybe our biggest priority. They are the next
They're our
generation.
future.
They're the future. They're who's going to take care of us. So why not prioritize them? And I think we've both agreed that not nearly enough is being done in this country or in other countries. And you have created Choose Love, which is, as you said, it's a free program. It is available completely free on your website. I've signed up for it. I've already started going through the lessons, and I started at the very beginning because that's where you should. Even if you don't have preschoolers, start at the beginning because even if you don't have a child to pass this on to, this is powerful information to know because you can teach others. You can refer others.
That's amazing, Nick. I love that. And it's true. One of the most unique things about Choose Love is that It is for all ages and stages. And it's actually information that I didn't know. And it is information that would have saved my son's life, as well as as the murderer, Adam Lanza.
Right.
It would have really helped. And I know that it can help. It reduces and prevents violence, substance abuse, mental illness by addressing the root cause. So it gives kids, it fortifies them with the essential life skills that they need to manage their pain, and not just manage it, but learn from, grow through, and be strengthened by. We're the only program that focuses on post-traumatic growth. And maybe a lot of your audience hasn't heard of that. I had never heard of that. All I'd
Right.
ever heard of was PTSD. And really, even before I knew that Jesse had been murdered, I was thinking, in my mind, I'm definitely going to be suffering from PTSD, and I wonder what that's going to look
Yeah.
like. I wonder if I'm going to be institutionalized, and
Right.
who's going to take care of my 12-year-old son. It was just so much fear, and all I'd ever heard of was PTSD. But the amazing thing is there's this thing called post-traumatic growth, and we're actually designed as human beings to grow through adversity. Like,
Right.
we grow because of adversity, not despite it. I mean,
Right.
what a concept. And this is not anything that I'd ever heard. I'd never read it. I definitely never learned it. And just think about a generation that understands that, and that has less fear of discomfort and pain, a generation that has the courage to face difficulty, roadblocks, challenges, even pain and suffering, and get curious about what the lessons are, how they're going to grow, how they're going to be strengthened. That is the kind of kids that we are cultivating, and it's really exciting. And it's all on the website, and it's all within those lessons. It's infant, toddler through 12th grade. Then we have programming for parents and communities, and it teaches things that I had never even heard of, and I didn't know as a parent. So I had two incredible boys that I loved with all my heart and soul, but I couldn't give them what I didn't have myself. And so that's why it's really important that we have this in schools for those kids that have parents that don't know. I didn't know. I
Right.
thought I was a pretty good parent. But I didn't have social and emotional competence.
Something that I'm pretty sure we had discussed during the interview was how you, and probably every other parent who has lost a child in a school shooting, ever thought beforehand was, this doesn't happen to me. This doesn't happen to people like me. And it doesn't happen until it does. And of course, prior to that, why would you necessarily know about it? Before that day when you lost Jesse, yeah, I mean, it was probably one of the furthest things from your mind. And I understand that his school did shooting drills, and a lot of schools do shooting drills. And so maybe it's somewhere in your mind, but when the day begins and you're going about your job, it's not the very first thing that most parents are probably thinking is not, is my child going to come home today? I know at some point it crosses a lot of minds, but hopefully it's not something that lives on the front burner of everybody's brains, because that's just, it's a horrible way to even go through a day.
Yeah.
But something else I want to say is probably another reason why society doesn't have this is because, like, when I was growing up, school shootings were not a thing. And same with you. The first school shooting I really remember, I don't know if it happened before this, but probably the one that everybody thinks of course, is Columbine.
Yeah.
In April of 1999.
Yeah.
Maybe it was, I don't know if it was the first, but obviously because of the scale of it and how many people died that day, that's why it made national news. And because those things didn't happen. So of course it was plastered all over the news for weeks.
Yeah.
And now
covers of magazines. I remember going through.
Yeah, covers of magazines,
and,
newspapers.
Looking at the magazines and just thinking, I mean, you don't even think that is even a remote possibility for you ever. I mean,
No.
it's just not a consideration.
Right. And then it happens.
Yeah, and I will tell you that 3 weeks before, and I hadn't remembered this. My mom reminded me. 3 weeks before, we're in my kitchen, and we had just had dinner. My mom and I are sitting around having a glass of wine, and Jesse runs into the kitchen, and and I'm kind of looking over my shoulder, you know, and he goes, "Mom, what would I do if a shooter came to the school?" And you know, in hindsight, I think, oh my God, I didn't drop to my knees and ask him why he was asking that question. It's just kind of such a thing that I guess is normal.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's totally normalized. So I look back over my shoulder and I go, I go, run zigzag,
Yeah.
right? And he goes, I remember he stopped, he cocked his head, he was like, okay,
Okay.
and he turns and he runs away,
Runs back
right?
to whatever he was doing.
Right. Yeah. And I didn't even remember that happened until years later, and I was reminded, wow.
Yeah.
And he had just had an active shooter drill in the school, and
Right.
that's why he was asking that question.
That's what prompted the question in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Before we dive
I
too,
didn't
oh,
know
I'm
that
sorry.
well, I was just gonna say I didn't know that that had happened. I mean, it's not like they told the parents that they were having that, so I had no
Yeah.
idea.
They didn't send out notices or emails or whatever to say, hey, on such and such day, we're going to be running active shooter drills at the elementary school, or maybe every school in the district. I'm not really sure,
Right.
but it's probably become so commonplace that they just don't let everybody know. They probably say it within the school. The teachers know, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy. Before we dive too deep into what the movement is all about and how the movement helps, let's talk about Jesse. Because I loved this part of the conversation during our interview, and Jesse is the reason why we're here. Unfortunately, if it wasn't for him, you and I probably would not have met. And the same goes for so many of the other guests that I've spoken with on this podcast. If they hadn't suffered incredible loss in their life, our paths may never have crossed. And that's why I take this show and this interview and all of the interviews so seriously. And they mean so much to me, because to be allowed into your life, into your story, it's an honor, and it's a gift, and it's something that everybody should take seriously. And I hope that everybody watching this does take this seriously, because I'm sure everybody else has other things they could be doing tonight. There are plenty of things that I could be doing, or that you could be doing. You're getting on a plane tomorrow morning, so you have to pack, and yet you took the time tonight to have this conversation. So that's how much this means to you and to me, and I hope that everybody takes this just as seriously. But so before we get into the movement, tell everybody about Jesse. Let's talk about him, and let's really honor his life, because he is the reason why we're here.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually, when you said that, I wanted to just move my computer over and see if you can see this. That
Again,
is,
there he is.
yeah, that is actually, believe it or not, and it's hard to see, but you can see that the frame is carved, and it has choose love at the top, and then it has each of the character values of the formula that we
Yep.
teach around the rim, and then it is a colored pencil drawing. And that drawing came from an inmate in New Hampshire, where our Choose Love program is being taught in all of the facilities there. And that is how moved people become at hearing his story, which is so incredible. It's interesting because, well, I always like to tell this story, and I think I told it in our podcast too, that when he was born, 11 pounds, always
Gives
larger
birth
than
to a watermelon.
I say it was the caramel sutra, all the caramel sutra that I ate, Ben and Jerry's caramel sutra ice cream. It's the best. Don't even try it. But anyway, the first time, so it was a C-section. So the first time I saw him, I was walking up to the nursery, and all these nurses are gathered around taking pictures. And I walked up behind them and I said, "What are you taking pictures of?" And they said, "There's this enormous baby that crawled down to the end of his bassinet. He was trying to get out. And there he was, like smushed down to the very bottom, asleep because he was exhausted. But that was within 24 hours." And I like to say that because that's kind of how he was his entire life, just kind of like over the top, really loud. I don't know if anybody's read John Irving's Owen Meany. And you remember Owen Meany always talked with capital letters in the entire book. And that was kind of like Jesse. And just, full of fun and very confident.
He had to announce himself to the world.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I have a great picture of him. He's with his class, but he is standing up in the back like that, and his teacher's
right.
kind of like that was pretty normal. But just wow, such an incredible personality, larger than life, but also like just so sweet and kind and protective. And I'm talking about a 6-year-old, by the way.
Yeah.
Just really, really incredible. A 6-year-old that went on to sacrifice his life to save 9 of his friends, which is really incredible. That little time that I was talking to him over my shoulder and saying, "Run zigzag," he did not. He did not do that. He chose to instead, direct his friends to run, which is incredible. And I talk about that because, of course, that's the same capacity that we all have for courage. Courage is like a muscle. We can strengthen it, and we can have the courage to do anything, courage to overcome fear in our life.
So incredible.
It really is.
There's one story that you told on the podcast. I'm wondering if you would like to share that story. When I had asked you what one of your favorite stories as a family were.
Oh, which one was that?
The night before. The Christmas present.
Oh, yeah. So you remember it was what, 2 weeks, a little less than 2 weeks before Christmas, December 14th, when the tragedy happened.
Yep.
And that night, so we already had our Christmas tree up. It was decorated, and I had gotten them this train set. They come in a huge box, and it was wrapped. And the boys were like, Mom, can we open it? We could set it up and we could put it around the tree. And part of me was like, no, that's one of your big presents and we're going to wait. And I don't know. I just said, sure. Yes, of course. Open it. And so the boys worked together to form the track around the tree, and they set up all the cars and they had it going around the tree. It was so wonderful. And that was the night before. And then, so then when I came back, unfortunately, after the tragedy, I think it was within a few days, I came with my brother and his 2 boys, and they're very young. So they're walking in the house, and they see the train, and they go, "Oh, a train." They run over to the train, and my brother Jordan's like, "Don't touch it. Don't touch anything." And I said, "Take it. I don't want it. I want the tree out. I don't want any of that. So just take the train." It was, the box was still there, all the wrapping and everything. So they carefully put it back in the box and took it. But yeah.
The fact that they had that night and they set up the train.
Oh,
and
I
can only imagine the 2 of them sitting by the tree were just having the time of their lives that night.
Yeah, they were. They got to open an early Christmas present, and I just thank goodness that I let them do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And and life is memories like that, and those are the greatest gifts that you can have.
That was something we covered a lot in the interview, is how you don't want to have regrets. And I think that was a big one, because had you had you gone the other way and said, no, just leave it, it'll be Christmas soon, you can't open it, then if that had happened the next day, you would have gotten home and probably seen that box unwrapped, and one of your first thought would be, oh my God, why didn't I let them do that?
Yeah, yeah. And it is about living life with the fewest regrets. And oftentimes I will remind my audiences, because they will be parents, that the number one way to live your life without regret is to be present with the ones that you love. Be present. And I'm saying thank goodness that the tragedy happened before the advent of this, what I call honestly a crack pipe, because it's meant to be addictive. And unfortunately, so many parents and kids are wasting their lives on them, and it separates us. And so I would just say, put your phones down, be present, play games, look at each other across the table, ask open-ended questions, because you can, you know, put down your
You
devices.
you absolutely can, and you
Yeah.
should enjoy it while it's here, because
Enjoy it while it's here.
you don't know when it's not going to be here.
Oh my gosh, that morning just started like, like any other morning. I mean, you're up, and it's everybody has busy lives. I was a single mom. I had two kids. I had to get them off to school, and then I had a long commute. And I remember Jesse's dad picking him up at the end of the driveway, and I'm walking him out, and I turned around to say goodbye to Jesse, and uh, I noticed that he had written on the side of my car with his little fingernail. And remember, it was December 14th in Connecticut, so there was frost all over my car. He'd written, I love you, on the side of my car, and he'd drawn hearts in all the windows. And I looked at that, and I thought, this is one of life's moments.
Yeah.
So I said, don't go anywhere. Ran inside, got my phone, came back out. I remember taking him by the shoulders, positioning him in front of his message, taking a picture, deleting it because it was overexposed in, that sun, that early morning sun.
Yep.
And then taking another picture, and then taking a close up of the I love you, giving him a big hug, and then getting him into the truck and waving goodbye. And that was the last time I ever saw him. Last picture ever taken of him. And thank goodness, I mean, if I could not have noticed it, and it would have
Yeah.
been gone in 10 minutes. And I
Yeah.
really do believe that that was my goodbye message. And I noticed it, and I have that picture, and it's really meaningful for me. And there's so many of those moments that go on in our lives that we miss. And you don't want to miss any of them, because you don't know when they're going to end. And it's not that you live your life in fear, it's that you live your life being present and really
Right.
appreciating in gratitude.
100%. You need to embrace all of the moments, and just like you said, enjoy them. Be
Yeah.
present. Just be in the moment.
Yeah, like I remember it was really hard to go to the grocery store because this is a small community. I didn't want to run into anyone. And I think it was like a month before I had to. And so I went, and I had a shopping list because I had another bereaved parent coming over
Okay.
that I hadn't met, but I had said that I would make dinner. So I got a shopping cart, and I'm in the Big Y and walking through, and a parent that I know came up, bumped, the carts, and she was like, "Oh my God, Scarlett, how are you?" And I'm like, "Fine." And she proceeded to tell me how, "Oh my God, I have so much to do. I have I have to take three boys to three different sporting events, and then I have to go home, and I have to do I have this huge load of laundry, and it's from three stinky boys." And like I'm just like I felt like I was in outer space, because I'm thinking, are you kidding me? Like,
Did
you
she?
have to do that? You get to do all of that. And it's like I couldn't believe that she was missing that whole thing, especially talking to me. she knew what my loss was. And literally, I think it just sent me into a panic. I literally dropped my shopping list and I turned and I ran out. I was like, this is just too much. I
Yeah.
can't do it. I did drive home, and the woman had beat me there, and she had made dinner. And I said, oh my God, I just came back from the grocery store and I was going to make dinner. And she goes, I never thought you were going to make dinner. You offered, but I didn't think that you could. I said, I thought I could. But I will say that that woman actually picked up my shopping list, did my shopping for me, and brought it to the house, which was amazing. Really incredible.
In times of grief and in times of loss, everybody comes together, and that's something else. Obviously, not necessarily under these circumstances, but just dealing with grief in general. That's something that we talk a lot about. Being there for somebody else in their time of need. It doesn't have to be a situation where you have you know the perfect thing to say or anything like that. Sometimes there's no words that can be said. There's no words that can be said to make
In
anybody
fact,
feel
that's
better.
the best thing that anyone ever said to me.
Right.
There are no words.
There
And I
are no
was like,
words.
you're right. That's the truth. Because when you try to put words to it, it falls
You can't.
flat.
Yeah. But at the same time, when people try to also say, like, what can I do? Some people don't know what to do. Little things like that. Go check on a person, go do their grocery shopping for them, go do their laundry, bring them a meal, whatever it takes.
Yeah.
And by the way, like, if somebody in the days and weeks afterwards, if they tried to bring over some food and check on you, and if you weren't up for it, I'm sure you would have graciously taken the food and said, thank you so much. I'm just not up for conversation right now. Then you know what? Go back the next day or go back in a few days, because eventually the person will be ready to at least open up a little bit. And I think that that's something that a lot of people don't realize is you can be there for someone in their time of need. You should probably be a little bit better prepared than running into somebody in a supermarket and saying, oh, I've got this to do and I've got that to do and I've got laundry to do, and not even having the first clue about the reality that you're in at the moment.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people think that way, right? That they're so overwhelmed with the stuff that they have to do, and they're so stressed out, but not realizing that the stress that they're talking about is called eustress. EU stress. Look it up. It's very interesting. It's the majority of stress that we have every day, and it's stress that's consistent. It's a part of who we are and what we do and what we sign up for, including having kids. And it actually helps us get stronger and more resilient. And so these things that your perception thinks are overwhelming and distress are actually this positive, beneficial kind of stress. And you know, I didn't know any of this before. This is all me just researching and trying to come up with a solution, because of course we haven't, right? Still happening. And I think there were 343 school shootings in 2023, something like that. Yeah. And not just
How is that even
shootings,
possible?
like mental health. Our kids' mental health went off a cliff when social media came through, and substance abuse and fentanyl and all this stuff. We have to start looking at the root cause. We have to start addressing the pain that our kids are in and giving them essential life skills so that they can learn, grow, and be strengthened from it, instead of being taken down by it and taking down others as well.
Completely agree. I mean, I've been saying for years, I believe social media is going to be the downfall of society. And of course, I rely on social media to promote
Here
my
we are.
podcast and to have live conversations.
You know, I mean, the thing is, there's really good stuff about it, but there's also a dark side, and there is a very dark side. And we are way behind in making our kids aware and educating ourselves on what that is. Way behind. And we need to catch up real quick.
Oh yeah, we need to go light speed to catch up.
Yeah.
Since we're talking about catching up, you have done a lot of work right there. You have tried to turn things around on your own and with the help of so many others.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the perfect segue into talking about Choose Love.
Yeah. So I'll tell you how Choose Love started because it's pretty interesting. I found a chalkboard message that my son had written, and it was 3 words: nurturing, healing, love, phonetically spelled because he was in first grade and just learning to write. It blew me away. It changed my life forever. Um, 3 words that aren't in the vernacular of a 6-year-old. And I knew that they were a message of comfort
Well,
for his family and friends. But
I mean, I think love should be. I don't know necessarily.
oh
about
yeah,
nurturing and
love for
healing.
sure. But I mean, the 3 of them together,
Right, the 3 of them
nurturing,
together. No.
healing, love. And what's interesting is there was a guy that contacted me, and I wish I remembered his name, but he was the grandson, either son or grandson of a Holocaust survivor. And he
Okay.
said that he had spent the last 20 years researching the definition of love and traveling to all these countries and talking to experts. And he said he came up with 2 words, and they were nurturing and healing, which, so it just blew him away that Jesse wrote those 3 things on the chalkboard. So I'm looking at that. And I'm also looking at how we are reacting to the Sandy Hook tragedy. I'm seeing the polarization, I'm seeing the anger, I'm seeing the blame, finger
Yeah.
pointing, fault finding. And I'm thinking, you don't solve anything with polarization. Fighting against one another, you're fighting against one another when there's a huge issue to solve. Like, it did not make any sense to me at all. And I did not want to be a part of it. And I really I did want to be, I quit my job. I mean, I thought, obviously what happened at Sandy Hook was 100% preventable. I mean, come on, let's face it. We can keep our kids safe. We keep our money safe. We keep other things safe. We can keep our kids safe. So, but we weren't doing it. And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to dedicate the rest of my life to being part of the solution. I mean, let's face it, Jesse, sacrificed his life to save 9 of his friends. And when your 6-year-old does something like that, then you're kind of obligated to step up to the plate in a big way. And I'm glad that I did. In fact, I even said I take my part of the responsibility for what happened that day. It happened in my school, in my community, and who else is responsible? And not many people were raising their hand. So I thought maybe I'll start a trend, because obviously someone's responsible, and you want somebody to be, because that's going to be, the person that's leading the way to solve it. So,
Right.
um,
But
so
the school's not going to take responsibility for.
oh no,
No.
no. I think, and you know what? That's another thing that I learned, Nick, is that you're I don't know what you expect. Like, as a parent, I don't know, I had this thought, and I don't even know if I like really thought about it, but I thought, I'm responsible for my kids when they're with me, and I feed them, I love them, I bathe them, I clothe them, or everything that a parent does, keep them safe. And then when they're at the school, they're the school's responsibility, right? Not true. They're not the school's responsibility. They're your responsibility while they're at the school, which is why what I'm saying tonight is so important.
Yeah.
And you need to listen, because you need, for your own sake and then for the sake of your children, to make sure that the safety measures that they have in place. Like,
Right.
I know that I didn't know this before, but Sandy Hook had pretty much the highest level of security at the time, all the latest technology. But what they lacked was the number one most overlooked aspect of school safety, that there is, and it's still being overlooked. And that is addressing the grievance end of this thing called, that the Department of Homeland Security calls, the pathway to violence. And the pathway to violence actually starts with a grievance. And this is not just in schools, it's in workplaces too. And so I was looking and going, we're focusing, as we usually do with issues, on the problem. And we're focusing on the attack end of the pathway to violence. And nobody's really talking about the grievance end. And why not? Because you can give kids the skills and tools they need to manage that grievance, and it will never escalate. Why wouldn't we be focusing on this end? So that's what I decided to do. I decided to focus on the grievance end and to give kids the essential life skills they need to literally grow through difficulty rather than being taken down by it and taking down others. And that is so important, because if you think about how in the past we have dealt with societal issues like the war on drugs.
Right.
It's like, wait a minute, how did that work out for us? Not well. What else? We focus on the problem, and we're always a step behind. We are so reactive. We learn from our mistakes, and that includes school shootings, by the way. Really we need to, and I'm not saying that hardening isn't important, unfortunately it is, but just as important, if not more, is having an essential life skills program to address the grievance end. And by the way, if you're like out there thinking, I already know all this, I teach my kid all of this, I teach them, how to self-regulate and how to have healthy relationships and how to cope and manage pain and all of that. That's great for you, but not all kids get that. Right. And so you want the kids to have that, all of them, because your kids can be practicing and the other kids can be learning. Yeah. And having those essential life skills reinforced. It is so important. I wish, Nick, that I knew that, but I didn't. But I do now, so I can just share, what I've learned through my tragedy, hoping that that can prevent so many more. And here's the other thing. I have third graders that, I mean, as low as third graders, asking me about my thoughts on school safety because they don't feel safe. And they know that we haven't figured it out. So they're trying to figure it out themselves. And I talk to them about the pathway to violence. And I say, you're lucky because your school has Choose Love. So they have both of those things. But a lot of schools don't. And I think that I honestly think, and what I'm seeing because I work in schools, is, that in some cases our kids are losing confidence in our ability to keep them safe. And they are thinking about it while they're in the classroom. And how can you learn effectively or at your highest level of learning when you have that small distracted thought in the back of your head? And they shouldn't. They absolutely shouldn't, and they don't have to.
Yeah. They don't have to, and yet they do. And as you said, we are the ones, excuse me, we're the ones who, must make that difference. As I said, I've signed up on the website. I have started going through the lessons, and there are a lot of them. And I plan to go through every single one of them. I don't care how long it takes, but I'm going to. And something that I thought of while I was looking at how many lessons there are is somebody might say, well, this is going to take too much time. And to that, I would say everybody's always going to have something to bitch about. They don't have enough time, or it costs too much money.
Well, that's
the money part of this. What's that?
Well, yeah. I mean, the time thing, you ask our ambassador.
Is there a better thing to invest in than your children?
I mean, what are you going to spend your time on? And if you ask Shannon Desilets, who was a therapist,
scrolling through reels,
how how many hours do you spend on that a day?
Yeah.
My mom tallied up her hours, or she saw it and she goes, I don't think this is a day. I think this is a week. And I'm like, no, that's actually
Nope.
a day.
It's a day.
And you know, but that is one of the main things that schools say, is that there's not enough time. But I will say that, you know, you talk to Shannon Desilets, who's our Choose Love ambassador in New Hampshire, who was actually a first responder as well. She's a therapist and came down um, to the tragedy, and she talks for us publicly, and she will say, I know what you're going to say. I don't have time. And she's like, you know what? I still provide post trauma treatment in Newtown 12 years later. And I can tell
Yeah.
you, you don't have time not to do this. I
Yeah.
mean, prioritize what are your priorities, you
Yeah.
know, and you know, there's research that shows, by the way, when you teach something like Choose Love, the kids get better grades and test scores, higher attendance, higher graduation rates, less stress and anxiety, less mental health issues. It is a statistically effective way to reduce and prevent bullying. And then those benefits extend into adulthood.
Yes.
It's the exact same skills and tools that employers are looking for, that universities are looking for. I mean, there's really no excuse not to do it. I mean, there's a lot of maybe there's some fear out there about what it is, and it is literally character education. It's positive psychology. It's teaching you neuroscience about how your brain works, about your thoughts, and about how to become the highest and best version of yourself. And you know what? I didn't know any of it before this whole
So,
journey. It's literally also what you're reading, Nick, is a little bit of my own healing journey,
mhm.
because I refused to be a victim.
Yeah.
I did not want to give away any of my power to the person who murdered my son.
Right.
So I wanted to figure out, you know, what's the pathway back to joy? That's where I want to be. And I
Right.
realized that it was, you know, the choices that I was making in the moment. Plus, I wanted to model this for my son. I didn't want to model anger, hatred, and revenge and all of that. I wanted to model strength and resilience and joy for my son. And it's a
Yeah.
choice when you have some skills and tools. And that's what we teach in Choose Love.
So, what is it about Choose Love that you think people would resist or have a problem with?
Um, well, I think so. It's also got a component that is social and emotional learning. And there's,
Oh, no, let's not have social and emotional learning.
well,
God
you know
forbid.
what? Here's the thing. People don't know what it is, and they hear really bad things about it. And like it's programming your kids,
Yeah.
or it's DEI or social
Yeah.
justice.
You know what?
And
Let's have a
actually,
completely separate live interview about all the shit that's bad, that's actually bad for
I mean,
people.
I mean, there's so much like rhetoric going on around it, and
Yeah.
you know, parents that like feel like they don't have time and they don't know. I could see how they could get upset, and it's like, oh my god, they're trying to, you know, infiltrate your children,
Yeah.
and
They're
they're
trying to
trying to
brainwash your
program them,
child.
they're trying to brainwash them.
Yeah.
Here, sign a petition that you don't want this. But you know, I will tell you one thing. When I was looking for a solution, and I was determined to find it, and I was not going to be a part of anything that had gone on before Sandy Hook, because that didn't work for my son.
Right.
I found this education, and I will say this too. Um, Sue Klebold, you mentioned Columbine, Nick.
Yeah.
So Sue Klebold is the mom of Dylan
Of Dylan
Klebold,
Klebold.
who was
Yep.
kind of the mastermind of that whole school shooting. And it was very interesting for me to watch her journey for 20 years, looking for why her son did that and a solution. So
Right.
really interesting. You know, she went from TED Talk, she went to she wrote a book, And then she's most recently done a documentary, and I looked at and read all those things, and we've actually had a conversation because at the end of her documentary, she is standing in the middle of a classroom and she's kind of looking at the camera and she's like, I found the solution. I found the solution, and it is social emotional learning and mindfulness. And I was like, yes, yes. It took you a little longer to get there, but that's what we're doing. And it is so important. It's so important. Not just for kids, but for big kids. And it's the same thing. It is so amazing. And it's a way that you can become the best version of yourself. And I really think that that's why we're here. Why else are we here on earth? And that's the way to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Why else are we here? I mean, we've talked about this in the podcast. I don't know if you and I necessarily talked about it, but I know it's come up in many interviews. I think one of our biggest obligations is to leave this place better than we found it.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that starts, and
totally agree.
the utmost part of that to ensure that that's going to happen is with children.
Yes.
Go with the younger generation, because they whatever influence they get, they're going to carry it on through a good chunk, if not the rest of their lives. So that's something we talk about grief. You and I, people of our generation, were not brought up to understand how to process grief because we were never talked to about it. Because our parents and
Right.
their parents always said, we're not going to talk about it. We don't talk about this stuff. Like, just sweep it under the rug, rub some dirt on it. Don't cry. Don't be sad. Blah blah blah. We don't talk about these things, and it's the taboo topic.
There's a lot of fear around it. And there's
Yes, there is a lot of fear around it.
I noticed that after the tragedy, and we were in a 60 Minutes interview, and one of the interviewers asked my older son, has anybody, and I'm not really sure, I can't remember why they asked this, but I thought it was fascinating, and it was not something that I would ever have asked him myself, and I'm so glad they did. Has anybody ever asked you how you are?
Yeah.
Or talked about Jesse? And this was like, they're talking like between 7th and 12th grade.
Right.
And that's when he went back to school, same school system, by the way.
Yeah.
All the way till he graduated early, and he said no. And I was floored, because, well, one thing is, like, everybody knows who the victim's siblings were, and also, like, Sandy Hook was given a lot of state and federal funds for mental health, and they had people embedded in the building just for mental health, in over and above what they normally have. So it's like, it wasn't resources that was the reason why nobody had brought this up to him. So I was so curious, and I called and I said, did you guys ever ask JT how he was? And they're like, no. And I'm like, why? And that's not to say that he, that he didn't get, some special stuff done for him, but just that, like, how are you doing? And they said, because, if he was having a good day, we didn't want to remind him. And I'm like, you will never remind me.
Yeah. That's something nobody will ever get to do, is remind
what I mean?
you.
Like, yeah. We didn't want to remind him. And then if he looked like he wasn't having a good day, we were afraid that we didn't have the skills and tools that we would need to help him. And like, the lesson from that, because you learn from mistakes, is that it has absolutely nothing to do with skills and tools. It has everything to do with courage, having the courage to be with someone in pain. And it is not comfortable.
No.
You don't know what to say, because there really are no words, as you said before. But that's when people need you. and they need to know that you care. And it's that stepping outside of your comfort zone and being present with somebody that shows that you care. But that takes a lot of courage. And until then, I hadn't even thought of it or realized it. And by the way, I'd be kind of that person too, by the way, before my tragedy, that
Right.
I probably, would not say anything. And then I'd be the person that's like, oh, their family is around them.
Yeah.
Oh, it's getting to be a holiday. I don't think I'll do it now. Oh,
Yeah.
well, now too much time has gone by and I feel awkward. But it's
Yeah.
really important to really, really cultivate those courage muscles, to be present with people. They need to know. They need to know that they're seen and that you care. And those are two of the most important things. In fact, I'll just say this because it's relevant. Um, in my research, and I have been doing this for 12 years, just literally trying to uncover the reason why this is happening and trying to be part of the solution. I also talk to school shooters, and I've had many conversations. In fact, I've had some podcasts on the Choose Love podcast. If anybody's interested in listening to them, I've had
Check it out.
book clubs. Yeah, check it out because they're really fascinating. And I will say that if I had to boil it all down to one word, all of them say that they did not feel seen.
Yeah.
They did not feel seen. And of course, kids and us, I mean, we crave to be seen as our authentic selves and accepted and cared for. We need to know that people care for us. So this is so important. And this is what I say when I go out and I speak to educators. Like, we really need to be present and show kids that we care. In fact, I'll just add, um, I was speaking to one of them that has a viral TED talk, and so his name's Aaron Stark. He's really an amazing person. But towards the end of the podcast, I was saying, I get so overwhelmed by the systems and processes that have to change to fix this. And he said to me, no, Scarlett, you're completely wrong. It has nothing to do with systems and processes. It has everything to do with giving love to those we feel deserve it the least. And it just hit me as truth.
Yeah.
Because if we don't, there might be consequences.
Yeah. There might be. Too frequently, there are.
Right.
Where do you believe the most value is in what Choose Love has to offer?
I think the most value is the simplicity and the fact that the universality of the lessons. I mean, it's pretty cool. I'm actually speaking to early childhood development educators, hundreds of them on one day. And then I'm flying out and I'm speaking to corrections administration the next day. And I'm literally pretty much saying the same thing. These are essential life skills that all of us can use, and they're fairly simple and they make common sense. It takes effort, and we have to work on it, but it is, in my mind, I mean, like, from my research, and I do this all day every day and I have for 12 years. I don't know how else to effectively choose love over fear in our life other than using the skills that we teach. And we have this really powerful formula, and it starts with courage, because we know courage is the most important character value. It's the one that underlies all the rest. Courage is like a muscle. We can practice it to strengthen it, and we all have the capacity for courage that Jesse showed. And when I say that, I'm not talking about standing up to a shooter and sacrificing your life. I'm talking about the courage that it takes to be kind to somebody who's not being kind to you. Like, that takes a lot of courage. And we don't think about it. And by the way, it's a choice too. And we don't often realize that it's a choice. I mean, someone's unkind to you, and what does your brain do? Your brain puts up its metaphorical dukes, right? You get defensive, your cheeks get red, the hair on the back of your neck sticks up, and you're ready to go. Your brain is ready to go. I mean, maybe they're literal dukes. That happens too, that reaction. Right. And so what we teach is to pause and get curious about that point of pain that that person's coming from, because hurt people hurt people. And we know that anger, hatred, resentment is all a mask for fear. And so if you boil it down to either love or fear, you've got everybody kind of operating in one or the other, and you can't be in both at the same time. So if you understand that, then you can kind of identify, you can start to identify where people are around you and that are interacting with you at work and at home and at school. And then you can thoughtfully respond appropriately. When you pause, you give your prefrontal cortex, where logic and reasoning reside, as well as the brake on your instinctual reaction, time to come online. This is where your highest and best self is. This is where you can, what we say, thoughtfully respond with love. We call it a heroic choice because it literally is, because your brain's wired to defend you, not just physically, but emotionally as well. But we teach this pause and this curiosity to give time for this to come online. That takes courage. It definitely does. If you said something off-putting to me right now that hurt my feelings, even though I know you, Nick, and I know your heart, my brain, would be ready to go. My fear center would be like, why did he say that? You don't deserve that. How dare him? I'm not going to let you get hurt. And by the way, my fear center might even hijack my whole operation. And I might come back at you with something even worse, because I don't have access to my prefrontal cortex. So this is what we're reading about, by the way, in headlines, as you scroll, all these people that are running around reacting in fear out of their freeze, fight, or flight. And what they don't understand is that they can get control over themselves and that they can choose how to thoughtfully respond. But you need some skills and tools.
You do. And I really believe that obviously there are many tools out there, but just from what I've already gone through on my own, obviously from all of our conversations, from the research that I've done on the research that you've done, Choose Love movement is so powerful and so necessary. If we're going to really try to make a difference, and by the way, let me also just kind of say, if there's anybody listening right now, or anybody who hears this on a replay who believes that this is not the way to go and you're brainwashing children, you believe whatever you want to believe, but I would also challenge you to have a little bit of an open mind, because for everything that you're going to say is brainwashing, you may have 1 or 2 or 5 or 10 beliefs that other people might say that you've been brainwashed into thinking that. So let's cut the bullshit and let's be a little bit open about everything that's out there, especially something that, if this was not an effective program, if this did not work, it wouldn't be in 16,000 schools in this country. It wouldn't be in schools in 135 countries around the world. Mm-hmm. Garbage doesn't have that kind of negative. Well, all right, you know what? That's not fair. Some does. But if this was really bad, then it wouldn't be spreading like it is. Mm-hmm. If this was nothing but lies, if this was brainwashing children, it wouldn't be spreading the way it is. It is spreading for the exact opposite reason. It is spreading because Jesse chose love, because you have chosen love, because everybody who has invested their time, because you don't have to invest your money into this program, has chosen love.
I was going to say, Nick, I'm going to give you a commission.
Well,
you're doing so good at sales. Thank you.
Well, it is my pleasure, and I don't know, who knows? Maybe one day I'll be an ambassador for Choose Love.
Well, you are being an ambassador right now. In fact, I'm bestowing it on you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I appreciate that. I mean, this work really, again, even though I don't have kids, this means a lot to me because I hate seeing this. I hate seeing, in a lot of ways, what our country is turning into. I hate seeing that children are not being prioritized the way they should be. Kim and I have conversations frequently if we go out to dinner, and it doesn't matter where we go out to dinner, breakfast, anything. This has happened multiple times where we see parents that are frustrated with a child that's acting up, and to not deal with them in the moment, they stick a device in front of them, a tablet or a phone or whatever.
Yeah.
And there was,
all the time.
yeah, and there was, I can't remember. Kim's in the other room, and if she's listening, then she'll hear this, and she'll probably type the name of it. We went out to breakfast somewhere, some point last year, and was it breakfast? Oh God, now I can't remember because I'm old and I'm 100 years old and my brain is failing. At some point, we were out for a meal and saw a family with very, very well behaved children, and Kim actually at the end of our meal, they were still eating, she went up to them and complimented them on just how incredibly well behaved their children were. And usually it's the opposite. People are just giving looks and people are making comments about what little shits kids are being, and can't you control your kid and blah blah blah. And she did the opposite. She gave that love to those parents who weren't necessarily looking for it, but gave it to them anyway. And I'm sure to them that's probably normal everyday life for their kids, but unfortunately it's not with everybody's kids. And I'm not trying to tell anybody how to raise their kids, so before anybody gets all up in arms, we're not trying to go there. We're trying to say that there is a major, major, major problem. There's a major disconnect in this country with our children, with us, with adults, with everybody. And it's social media, it's the fact that we live in a 24-hour news cycle. There's so many reasons for it. Mm-hmm. If we're going to get serious about educating children on the reality that we live in, and unfortunately, we live in a gun country. We live in a country where school shootings are the norm. You said, what was the number you said before in 2023? 343 school shootings?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, that's almost one a day. I mean, what the fuck are we talking about here? Averaging one school shooting per day in this country. That's not supposed to happen. So what can we do about it? We can do things like invest our time and invest time of our children in programs like Choose Love. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what we can do. That's exactly what we need to do. And again, for those of you who you're going to have 100 reasons why not to, that's fine. You can feel the way you want to. I believe in this program, and I think it's something that every school needs to have. And for all of your staff and for all of your ambassadors and for all the work that you and Jen and JT are doing right now, thank you so much for everything that you're doing, because we need to do everything imaginable to prevent another Columbine or another Sandy Hook or another Parkland or another Uvalde, or just a little school where one bullet flies. One bullet is too many. There need to be no bullets flying. We need.
I mean, why are we raising kids that are killing themselves and each other at unprecedented rates? I mean, how come that's not a priority? How come there aren't more people saying, what the heck is going on?
Right.
Our kids are killing each other.
Why are we not normalizing that? Make it make sense. Somebody.
Yeah. I totally agree. I think that, and the tired rhetoric, that's it. It's done. I mean, stop, because
Yeah.
we need to really, as you said, prioritize this, and that's what I'm trying to do. And so parents, learn from me.
Yeah.
And I would have this conversation in front of your child, because I know that it's a difficult conversation to have. I mean, I would call your school in front of your child. And I mean, depending on how young they are, but I'll tell you what, they're having conversations about it on the school bus and at school.
Yeah.
So, and they're also losing confidence in our ability to keep them safe.
Yeah.
So I would call the school in front of them, and I would say, hey, I'd educate yourself on the hardening measures that they're taking. And then I would say, do you have a character, social, emotional development program? I wish I had done this. I wish that I had done this. I knew this, but I didn't. And the name, if they do, should roll off their tongue. They should know it, because everybody should be doing it. And they should be able to tell you the name. They should be able to tell you how many times a week it's being taught. They should be able to tell you if there is a parent component. They should be able to tell you if there's a community component. And you should be able to go on and look at it. There's another thing, Nick. I mean, we're completely transparent. We're not trying to hide anything. Anybody can go online and they can access our programs, and they can look at all of them. You want to know what your kid is being taught at school? Go on and check it out.
Yep.
It's all right there.
Yeah.
And
There's nothing hidden. There's
right,
no fee. There's no credit card. There's no copay. There's no, secret code. There's no anything that you have to like scratch off to reveal a PIN number and then get access. Every single person who has an internet connection and knows how to get to the website has access to these materials. There's no secret.
right, right. You have access, and it was really important to me, by the way, Nick, for it to be no cost, because when I did research and I found out about these types of programs, and I realized very quickly that I didn't have these skills and tools, and that they would have saved my son's life as well as his shooter. I called our curriculum director, and I was breathless. And this was within months of Jesse being murdered. And I said, have you ever heard of this? And she's like, yeah. And I said, what happened? And she said, oh, we spent so much money on a program that we couldn't afford to train the teachers. So we sent a small contingent of teachers out to be trained, and they were supposed to come back and train the trainer, but train the other teachers, but they didn't. And so she said, and it's literally burned a hole in my brain, it never got out of the box.
Yeah.
And so I thought, okay, well, I have to create the best of the best program, synthesize the best of what's out there, and create it so that it does get out of the box, so it is used, because this is way too important. And then I wanted to be the tide that raised all the other ships, because I thought, we are not doing enough. We cannot have programs that are priced out of the market for kids and their educators. Like, we just can't. So I made mine free, and that was really to put pressure on everybody else. You know what? You're either going to have to bring your prices down, or you're going to have to make yours better than mine.
Yep.
And I don't know of another program that's better than mine.
Yeah.
So, and there are great programs out there, but they're expensive. And, I would say not all of our schools can afford it. I know that Sandy Hook Elementary School couldn't. Right. And that's completely unacceptable.
And I would challenge anybody to say, for anybody who actually felt like doing the research, or may even think they have an answer, excuse me, if anybody out there knows of a program or wants to suggest a program that is leaps and bounds better than Choose Love, then my first two questions would be, why is it so much better than Choose Love, and how much does it cost? And I promise you the second answer will not be zero. But if it's so much better, then Why isn't it being used? Oh, because it costs too much. Okay, so that's the answer right there. Money is
Money cannot be the reason that it's not
it
in a
can.
school. And you know what? There are a lot of really great programs out there.
Of course there are.
And so, if you call your school and they can rattle off the name of a program and they're teaching it every day or at least once a week, and there is a parent component, I mean, you should be really happy. That's great. But if there isn't, they have to have it, because this is the number one most overlooked aspect of school safety in our country.
Yeah. And at this point, money is not the reason why any school can't have this. Is it any school, any teacher, any student, any principal, superintendent, parent, child, whatever, can go onto the website and can access these programs. And by the way, something else that you said before when about having this conversation in front of your kid, and some people might be worried about their kids are too young. Jesse was 6.5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Jesse and 19 of his classmates, 6 and 7 years old, didn't walk out of that classroom because somebody walked in there with a gun.
And by the way, they had been through an active shooter drill. So if
Yes,
your kids are old enough to go through an active shooter drill, then they're old enough to hear you call the school, because that shows them that you care, that you know about it, that you're doing everything in your power to keep them safe. And that is going to make them feel seen and cared about. And it's really important.
And I totally understand that it's not a conversation that anybody is comfortable having around their 6-year-old or their 7-year-old or their 5-year-old or their 4-year-old or their 17-year-old. Nobody wants to have the conversation. But when 343 school shootings take place in a calendar year, you need to start having the conversation, because this isn't an anomaly anymore. This is a way of life.
It's not a new normal. It's normal. This is part of our culture. Normal.
This has been, unfortunately,
We've allowed it to become part of our culture.
Yes, we have. And at this point, school shootings happen and they're barely discussed. Sometimes they don't even make the news anymore.
Right.
That's how commonplace this is.
Right.
And that is wrong. So if I understand we're not going to ever stop everybody, but let's do as much as we possibly can. Mm-hmm. And I'm so glad that you took all of the time, gathered all the resources to build a program like Choose Love. I will forever hate that it took what it took to make that happen. Yeah. But again, you talked about how you didn't know certain things. Look, why should you have? Because it had never happened to you. And there are a lot of parents that it hasn't happened to yet. But if something good can come out of tragedy, then let that be the reason why it needs to be on the tip of the tongues of every single parent, every educator, because we don't want to see another Sandy Hook or another Parkland or another Columbine or another Uvalde or another, and replace the name with the name of any school in this country or in the world that has had a school shooting. If you want to limit it to this country, fine. You've got thousands to choose from. So if you don't want to see your school be the next fill in the blank, reach out to your school district, reach out to the administrators, reach out and find out what kind of social emotional learning is in place. Find out if there is a program, because there may not be. And if there isn't, then find out who you can talk to, about suggesting Choose Love.
Yeah, and you're talking elementary, middle, and high school.
Yeah. The lessons that are on the website go from pre-K through 12.
Infant, toddler.
Yeah. Infant, toddler through all the way through high school.
So, and so even the littles, that you're bringing to daycare. Daycares are using this program, and obviously it's mostly for the educator and on brain development, but there's so much brain development going on then, and it's really, really important. Like, I wish my kids had this.
Yeah. At this point, if we had kids, then they would have it. Mm-hmm. And part of why I do this podcast is to educate as many as I possibly can. And that's why I blast these things out of my Facebook and try, because I can't obviously. I wish I had the time to send messages to every single person I knew or every one of my family members, but that's why I blast the hell out of everything on my Facebook. I put it on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok because usually somebody's everywhere. And if people don't see it, then they don't see it. If they see it and they skip over it, what am I going to do? But I'm not going to stop trying. I'm going to put messages like the reels that I've shared from our interview and this live and the rest of the posts that I've shared about this interview. I'm going to put it out there as much as I can because I want everybody to know that this is out there. Because we don't have kids, we have a lot of nieces and nephews, and I want all of them to know about this program, and my brothers and my sisters and my cousins and all of them to just contact your schools and find out, does a program like this exist? If it does, find out what it is. And if it's a good program, awesome. I mean, honestly, if it's a program, awesome, because a lot of schools don't have them.
Right.
And if the answer is we don't have anything, then recommend Choose Love. Do the research for yourself. Just take 30 minutes. Put the phone down, get rid of Facebook and Instagram Reels for a little while. Spend 30 minutes on this website. You're going to be blown away. I was blown away enough just by all the conversations that you and I had, the initial conversations, the interview. And when I ended up going on and started looking through everything, I was like, holy shit, like I can't believe I didn't start going through this sooner. And like I said, it's going to take me some time, but I'm going to go through every single lesson because I want to know what's in there.
I
And if
love
there are
that.
things
Are you
Absolutely.
doing the high school, like 12th grade or something?
I'm starting on the pre-K. I started all the way at the beginning. I don't, you know what? I mean, what's that?
That's great. I mean, it's
Yeah.
great. You know what? I wish that I had this in school because I would have made different choices.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm supposed to be here, and I would do it all again to have my kids, but this kind of competency is it's life changing, and it helps you, I think, get to that best version of yourself earlier than maybe midlife.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? It took I go into classrooms and kids often ask me, "Hey, would you be doing this if your child hadn't died?" And the answer is absolutely not. I would not. I would still be living the life that I lived 12 years ago. I was happy. But you have something like this happen and it literally drop kicks you out of your comfort zone. Nobody wants to leave their comfort zone into your growth zone. And for me, I just had this conviction that what happened was 100% preventable. I knew it from the very beginning, and I knew that I couldn't live with myself if I didn't dedicate my life to preventing it. And by the way, some people do find purpose in their pain, and that's what I did. And also, I do want to say you started this whole like live off by talking about how grateful you are for the people that you met and the conversations that you've had. I think about that all the time when I'm traveling and I have people come up to me and just start having this real, deep, meaningful, so relevant conversation. And I think, wow, if I think to myself, if my son hadn't been murdered, I wouldn't be able to talk to this person this way, but now we're just like these real, raw, open people. And I have so many friends that are bereaved parents now, and just so many people that I've met through the Choose Love movement, and so many people that are volunteering to help, and they're all beautiful, incredible people that I love. And I just think about how full my life is because of the grief and the pain. And I think that, if there's anybody in the audience that's listening, that's going through something, I just want you to understand and to remember that, first of all, that life is like a roller coaster thing, that I tell kids. You go up and then you go down, and they go, but how come it seems like life is on the downside more than it is on the upside? But you know what the thing is, it always goes up. And look for the good, look for the helpers, look for the lessons and the growth, look for what we're calling in the Choose Love movement, that post-traumatic growth. That's the majority of us actually grow through difficulty. So if you could get present and get curious about how your experience is going to help you grow, and maybe it's impossible while you're going through it because it's too painful, it's too overwhelming. But if you can reflect on something that you've gone through, that you're still resentful or it's still very painful, just pull that up and think about how it's changed you. Think about how it's made you stronger. Think about the positive impact that you've had from that event. And I bet that you'll find some things and you'll be able to reframe what happened into a more positive way. Not that, bad, actually really bad things happen to really good people all the time.
Yes.
Unfortunately, but it's also a way that it's who we become. It's part of who we are, and how we get to be the best version of ourselves. And it opens doors to our purpose. And I really do think, another reason that we're here is to take what we've learned from those lived experiences, both good and bad, and use that wisdom. It's not just knowledge, but it's wisdom that you get from that learned experience. Use it to help other people.
Yeah. Like we said before, leave this place better than we found it.
Leave it better than we found it. And that is our responsibility for our kids. And right now, it is not a better world than where we found it, Nick. And we have some work to do.
We have more than some work to do. We have a lot of work to do.
Yeah. And part of that, by the way, is modeling for our kids what that looks like. And I think about how, what leaders and some movie stars, how they handle themselves, and politicians. And I just think we have to be very careful about the way that we speak to one another, the respect that we show to other human beings. Our kids are watching. And, if you've got a child that is exhibiting bullying behavior, that child most likely learned it from somebody. And so we need to be very careful about what we say, how we think, and how we act.
We can make so much difference. We can make all the difference.
Definitely.
We need to trust in ourselves. We need to trust in the people that we're trying to teach, in our children. We need to trust that there are good resources available. And again, I will say this again. I recommend to everybody listening, whoever hears this, whether you're on now, whether you hear this on replay, go to chooselovemovement.org and just look at everything. Just like I said before, spend 30 minutes. It's 30 minutes. What were you going to be doing otherwise? Scrolling reels or, playing a game or whatever. I'm not saying that there's not a time and place for that as well, but just disconnect from everything for 30 minutes, no distractions, turn off your ringer, close the door, do whatever you need to do, and just look at the website. If you are not moved by what you're seeing, all right, then close the browser and go on with your life.
Then visit our YouTube channel. Choose Love. Right. Jesse Lewis, Choose Love.
There you go. That's a better option. If the website alone doesn't move you, then visit the YouTube channel.
There are some really great, incredible videos and some testimonials from people that will blow you away.
Yeah. This is not something that is again, the way that you said it before, if anybody out there thinks that Scarlett or anybody is trying to brainwash anybody, adults, children, again, it's a free country. You can think whatever you want to think. I really encourage you to just give it a try.
Yeah.
Just read through, spend half an hour.
Yeah.
And if you're not blown away there, try the YouTube channel. And if you're still not blown away, all right, fine. Then maybe you're on the small percentage of people that this just isn't for you. But as I said on my Facebook post this morning, I said on this live in the beginning, if your children, if their safety, if their education means anything to you, and I also say to those of you like myself who do not have children, but I have nieces and nephews, I have a lot of friends who have children. If the safety and education of children of this country, of your family, of your friends, of your house, wherever, everywhere, mean anything to you, then it is and it is our overall responsibility to invest as much as we can in their future, because this is going to be their country one day. The same way that our parents tried to invest in our future, let's do an even better job. Let's invest in the future of our children, in their education, in their safety. Let's use the right tools. And again, I believe that chooselovemovement.org has the right tools. So check it out, please.
Yeah, definitely. And if you're interested in my story, I've written a book called Nurturing Healing Love. And it's got just incredible miracles in it that happened. It's an amazing story. It's the first 6 months of my journey, but there are just some incredible things that happened along the way. And you'll see kind of the build up to the movement. And then there's also another book called From Sandy Hook to the World, and that's really more about the Choose Love movement. And you'll hear from a lot of people around the world that are using it, and you'll hear about the benefits. And then for those of you with kids, there are 2 children's books. One is called Choosing Love, A Pathway to Flourishing. And that is because, I just absolutely loved reading to my kids. And so every Christmas they'd get a big box of books, and I read to them every night, just loved reading to them. That was our favorite time. And I think that maybe we've gotten a little bit away from that because of cell phones. So this is kind of a different book. It's a longer children's book, but it's really for all ages. The lessons in there, original watercolors from my art instructor, Jane Weir Davidian. Big shout out to her. And I just wanted to create a book that kids and their parents or grandparents or siblings or caretakers, whoever is reading it to them, you probably won't be able to finish it in one setting, but you'll put it away and you'll want to pick it up again. There are little ducks hidden in every picture. And then the last book is Roses Full, which is about a baby horse that was actually born on my farm. So every morning I'm going out with my camera and I'm dragging my son in a little red radio wagon red flyer wagon. So it's about this little foal that was born on our farm and all of the most important lessons that a mother can teach her child. And I will tell you that was the first book that I wrote. And after Sandy Hook, that book went viral because people thought that the last lesson was that the mother horse is telling her baby horse, we may not live on the same farm, but our love transcends time, and I'll always love you wherever you are. And then the book finishes, love never ends instead of the end. Shout out to my mom, that was her idea. But so like that story was on the back of Jesse's mass card. My brother did that for me, which was really sweet. And it's just, I think we really need to start really, really delving into our kids and making them a priority. And and doing everything that we can to keep them safe. And that's the goal in my life is to keep our children and educators safe and well.
Could, yes, and well, safe is part of it,
Yeah, right.
but
It's part of
mental
it.
wellness is another big part of it.
Yeah, really, really
And
important.
you are attempting to tackle all of it, and I cannot applaud all of your efforts enough. I mean, in the 12 years that you've been doing this, you've made such an impact around the world. You're continuing to. You're clearly not going to stop as long as there is breath in your lungs. And that is, if that's not to be commended, then I don't know what the hell is. The work you're doing is phenomenal. It's so desperately needed in all of our small towns, in every state in this country, around the world, and you're doing it.
And by the way, I
And
needed it too. As a
yeah,
grieving parent, I needed to learn these lessons. I needed to be reminded
yeah,
that my future was a choice that I made.
right.
And forgiveness is a choice that you make. One of the things that I thought was really cool, um, like when I started this, I got a lot of pushback for the name Choose Love. Literally, people were like, "Mm, love? Ugh, I don't know. I don't know. Are you gonna go with that? Would you consider changing it? What
To
you're gonna
what?
use that in schools? Like this was the response, and because of that, I thought I better do this because love should just roll off our tongues. Kids need to feel loved. This is really as important as food and water. They have to feel loved, and so so obviously I went with the name, but then I thought it was really fun that on the Super Bowl, on the end line, end zone, it said choose love. And you saw all the choose love on the back of the helmets and everything. So I
Yep.
thought about how the message has really taken hold and how it's really become mainstream. I will say that there was a New York Times sports writer that was commenting on the name change on the end zone. And he was talking about Choose Love and he was saying, what's Choose Love? It's nothing. It's like just innocuous. It's meaningless. Like what is it? It's weak. And I actually got a subscription so that I could write him back. And I said, actually, choosing love as a thoughtful response in a difficult situation is the hardest thing to do. It's the strongest thing to do. You're having courage to face difficulty in your life instead of resisting and avoiding or maybe numbing yourself. That's incredibly courageous. Being grateful when things aren't going your way, fortifying yourself from the inside out to better be able to handle adversity, forgiving somebody, letting it go when somebody hasn't said they were sorry, somebody doesn't know that they hurt you or they don't care. Forgiveness is an attribute of the strong. And then compassion, having the courage to step outside of what's going on in your own life to help and heal somebody else.
Yeah.
That takes courage. That's a strong person. So choosing love, like I want you to rethink that. And they had taken end racism off and replaced it with choose love. And it's like, well, how do we end racism? By choosing
Choosing
love.
love.
And if you think about it, we're always focusing on the problem that's out there. And we've done that for a long time. I mean, you've got anti bullying, all the anti movements, you've got war on drugs. You've got the signs in front of houses, and I know what they mean. I know what they're supposed to mean,
Yep.
and I know that it's a good message. But I don't know if you have these around your house, but like hate has no place here. As you're driving by, you can only see a few words, and what's the first word that you see? Hate.
Hate.
That's because of our negative bias, and I don't think that people understand that we focus on the negative and the problem, and our brain does that to keep us safe, but it impacts everything in our life, and it impacts the way that we deal with societal issues. We focus on the problem, and what you focus on grows. And I mean, we can see that in I think the anti-gun movement,
Yeah.
right? Since the anti-gun movement really got going, which I think was Sandy Hook, um, we have increased exponentially in gun ownership, because
Yeah.
it evokes fear, and fear makes people want to arm up. And it's that
Well,
fighting against, which, doesn't help. So,
yeah.
you see the difference between that and choose love. It's a big difference. It's a completely different energy.
Well, unfortunately, with right after Sandy Hook, certain people decided to use their platform for hate instead of love, and for drumming up controversy. As unfortunately, we both know that your friend and mine, Robbie Parker, dealt with right after Sandy Hook.
Mm.
And he found himself in the crosshairs of Alex Jones, who probably got way more people to buy guns because of Sandy Hook, because of all of the lies that he spread. That certainly wasn't choosing love.
No, saying that Sandy Hook didn't happen.
Right. That Sandy Hook never happened.
When I
that,
had spent,
that you guys were
when I
crisis
dedicated
actors.
my life to being part of the solution, and then somebody coming behind me and saying it didn't happen,
Yeah.
that was not productive at all. Yeah.
Not even a little bit.
Yeah. So, and again, I mean, that's a very fearful response. And I understood the followers of him, because he's going, okay, so first of all, he's right in one thing. It shouldn't be happening. Like,
Right.
it's absurd. It shouldn't be happening. And it really didn't even bother me that he was questioning it day one, which he was, because it shouldn't happen.
No.
But I can understand if he's giving his followers another alternative. Like, okay, here's the scenario. This happened where a former student blew his way through the glass doors of an elementary school and went down the same first grade hallway that he had attended, and murdered in cold blood, looking for soft targets, 6 educators and 20 kids, having shot his mom in the face 4 times before he left that morning, and
Yep.
then himself. So 28 total deaths. Or you could believe that no one died.
Right.
No one died.
No.
It was all a ruse to get your guns, and all those people are I don't know what are we supposed to be, whatever, actors and
Crisis actors.
Thank you. Right. And so like, it never happened. They're just crisis actors. And you know who the biggest followers of Alex Jones were in the beginning? Were moms with young kids. And you know what? You can almost understand that, because as a mom with a young child, and she's, looking at sending them to a public school or even a private school, it doesn't matter. And that's very fearful. So if she's weak, and and in fear, what reality is she going to choose? She's going to choose to think that it just didn't happen, because she's been given that reality. And what I've been saying for the past 12 years is that we have to have the courage to acknowledge the issues that we're having today. Like, this is really happening, like, maybe you don't believe Sandy Hook happened, but what about the 342 others that happened in 2023 alone? I mean, you can't say there's no realm of reality where you can say that this isn't happening. And you know what? That's where you see strength
Yeah.
of people that acknowledge the truth and actually stand up and do something about it to be part of the solution. Alex was even saying during the trial that he wanted to help Choose Love. and he wanted to be part of the solution. And, I'm still waiting for him to step up to the plate to do that. He made that comment, and, we would welcome him if and when he makes that decision.
Jesus, what a hell of a challenge that is
Well,
to Alex Jones to say, if you really want to choose love, here's your chance.
yeah, absolutely. He said that he wanted to. I can't tell you how many interviews I had after the trial where Anderson Cooper and all these other guys would be like, "Are you still thinking that he might, And I said, "Absolutely, sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just a choice. He
Right.
could do it at any time, and if he wants to, we'll welcome him, because we all need to step up and take responsibility to be part of the solution. Look, he's got kids. He's got
Yes.
kids. He wants them to be safe.
Yeah. And yeah, I would imagine he wants them to be safe. I don't think he ever wants anything to happen to his family
Of course
or
not.
to anybody that he knows. So yeah, there you go. If anybody really wants to get this message in front of Alex Jones, because I know that he's got millions of followers, then share it with him and say, "There you go, Alex Jones. There's your challenge. Choose love."
Yeah. I mean, it might even be that he was so horrified at the reality that he couldn't accept it either, in the beginning, because he's got kids too. So he
Yeah.
created an alternative reality. But, that doesn't solve problems, that only aggravates them.
Yep, that's all it does.
Yeah.
You, on the other hand, are doing your best to solve problems. And thank you again so much for everything that you've done. Thank you for being here. I hope that this is far from our last conversation. I would love to
Absolutely.
do more lives.
That would be
I
amazing.
Yeah, I want to do more lives and help get the word out there to as many people that are willing to listen to us. I'm going to continue going through the lessons and just spreading the word as much as I can.
Thank you. Thank you so
You're,
much. I really
you,
appreciate that, Nick.
you
Thank
are
you.
so welcome, and I really hope that anybody who's on my Facebook page or Instagram or TikTok or LinkedIn or YouTube or anywhere that I'm going to share this will see this and will just think about the difference that can be made by just making a choice to see what the program is about. I'm not saying follow it blindly, because that creates all sorts of other problems in other ways, um, like something that we just talked about. Uh, but
Good
give
point.
it a chance. Um, just look and see what it's about. If it's really not for you, all right, fine, then we tried. But if it's for you, then you will understand the work that needs to be done in this country to help our children, to save the children, to preserve their what will be their legacy and their education and their safety and our own. I mean, this isn't something that's just for schools. This has been used in corporate environments too.
Mhm.
This is something that needs to be learned by adults, by kids, by everybody. So
It's within alternative schools. It's being used for special needs and at
yeah,
risk and foster care. I mean, it's being used all over, and so just help spread the message. That's what would be really helpful, is if you would just use your social media for good, and help us spread the message. If you know somebody with kids, somebody that's in school, then spread this to them and just make them aware. It's no cost. So you are, going to be doing them a service as well as yourself,
right.
because, we're all responsible for the world that we live in, and we want it to be safe and kind. And this is the way to do that, by addressing the root cause of suffering, literally the
Yeah.
suffering that leads to not only violence, but substance abuse and mental illness and so many other diseases of despair. We can actually reduce and prevent the suffering with programs like the Choose Love movement. We can reduce the suffering before it escalates into these issues, and we can help kids, give them the essential life skills they need to become the best versions of themselves, to flourish, to thrive. That's what we want for all of our kids. And these skills and tools are necessary to do that.
They absolutely are. And thank you so much for saying that, for putting all this out, for being here, for creating Choose Love movement, for honoring Jesse's life, and for making all of us part of your story and his story, and welcoming me and everybody else into your family and into your lives. It means so much to me to be able to have these conversations, to share them with the audience that I have, which is hopefully continuing to grow. I love every bit of it. Yeah, seriously. Thank you, Scarlett.
Thanks, Nick, so much from the bottom of my heart. And thank you all.
Absolutely.
Thanks to everybody that joined us.
Yeah,
Really
thank you for
appreciate
everybody
it.
who is still watching, who watched part of it, who watches the replay. Check out chooselovemovement.org. I want to get all of the, not necessarily tonight because you need to get some sleep because you've got to get on a plane in the
I
morning.
have to pack.
But what's that?
I have to pack.
Yeah. Oh my God, you still have to pack?
Yeah,
Oh geez. Okay, then yeah,
Right.
we're definitely going to wrap this up.
it's all right.
Um,
I'm quick.
I will. I'll talk to. Is JT or Jan the right person to get me the links for all the books, because I want to get all the books up on the on my website.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, JT can do that.
Okay, then I will. If JT, if you're still watching, then tomorrow I'm going to reach out to you. And
He may
also huge
that.
thank you to JT for helping us get all this together,
Yeah.
and for being your social media manager, and
Yeah.
just making sure that this ran seamlessly.
Yeah, he does
yeah.
such a great job.
He's amazing too. And I didn't want to say this, but I'm just going to throw it out there now. I was actually having a thought earlier today that if he would be up for it, I would love to have a conversation with him as well. I don't know if he'd be up for it as much.
Oh my gosh, he
but-
is brilliant, and he is very wise, very, very wise himself. He would be a great interview.
Yeah, I mean, as it would be a completely different perspective as a
Yeah.
sibling, as his older
Right.
brother. JT, if you're still seeing this, if you're up for it, then I'd like to have a conversation with you. But we can talk offline about that, because I agree it would be just another incredible interview. And if he's gone to bed, then I also understand that, because it's a little bit late. But yes, I will talk to him tomorrow. We'll get all the links for everybody, so you can see the books. The chooselovemovement.org is on the website. It's ourdeaddads.com. Go to episodes. Episode 50 is Scarlett's episode. By tomorrow, or as soon as I'm able to get all of them, all of the links for all of Scarlett's books will be up there.
Thank you.
There's not you're so welcome. There's not a ton that I can really put on the website about chooselovemovement.org, because honestly, you just need to go to the website and everything's right there, because any link that I can put there, it's right in front of you on the website. So, but the website is there. Go to the website, check everything out, sign up, start reviewing all the lessons. If you have kids, work with them. If you don't have kids, do it anyway.
And sign up for our newsletter, because we do stuff.
And
all
sign
the
up for the
time.
newsletter.
Right now, we're 3/4 of the way through Mental Health Awareness Month, but we've been putting out free resources the entire time. We have a summer summit coming up. We have lots of events, and they're all great, and they're all, you'll get something out of all of them. So, and also other people, you can forward all of these. So we'd really appreciate that.
Absolutely. Listen to her, people. Make sure you do it. She knows what she's talking about. All right. Let's wrap this up. You get yourself packed, get to bed, have a safe trip,
Thank you.
and we will definitely talk again soon.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Nick. Really appreciate
Absolutely.
you.
I
Appreciate all
appreciate
of
you, Scarlett.
Thank
we appreciate
you.
everybody. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Scarlett. Thank you, JT and Jan. I really appreciate it, and we will talk soon.
Okay.
Have a great night.
Bye, everybody.